Hello, welcome back to Up the Villa. This is our predicted lineup for Villa v Liverpool. Joined by Justin and Hannah. How are we both doing?
Brilliant.
Not bad, thank you.
Right, it's a big week. Two big games. Feels like we've got to not turn the corner, but we've got to get this back on track and get a real solid amount of points in this up and coming week because, take away these two games, what we got 11 games left, 12 games left. So it's not a lot left of the season, is it? So, Hannah, how are you feeling then going into Liverpool, reflecting on games that have happened previously and thoughts on this, Liverpool, Chelsea coming up?
Wow, it is a big week, isn't it? It's a very, very big week. A big month, to be honest. If you look at the various competitions we're in, it's crunch time, it feels, because you're kind of at this point in the season where you're tipping over into the start of what feels like a home stretch. After the Liverpool game, I think we've got 5 home games left. So, by the end of this week, we'll be looking at literally 4 home games left in the Premier League, which feels like a crazy thing to say because the season's just flying by. So we are really at that kind of point now where I think the home form that has become okay, pretty good. Actually, we need to convert some of these draws into wins. I'm just looking back at, the Ipswich game 1-1, the West Ham game, which I think was 1-1. I think we even drew 1-1 against Bournemouth at some point. We've had a handful of those results in games at home in the Premier League that we've sort of just been like these fine margins away from being brilliant or having, 3 points instead of 1. And I just think, what difference would that make to our position of where we are in the league now? So I think these home games are really important, and we've got to start converting some of those draws into wins. So what better chance to do that than against two teams like Liverpool and Chelsea, obviously, at the weekend. So it won't be easy. I think we know actually that I think one of our better performances of the season actually came against Liverpool at Anfield. I believe we were off the back of a pretty sticky run. I think it was when we lost to Spurs and some others. And we went to Anfield and we did lose, but I remember coming away from that game feeling like we'd played quite well. So I don't actually fear Liverpool that much, despite the fact that they're looking to be the champions of the Premier League this season. They do score a lot of goals, which obviously we'll probably come on to. It is an issue. We skip a lot of goals, but I also think they're not the same team that they were in their previous title winning season when they were just so solid at the back. We saw them draw obviously in the Merseyside derby last week, and their performance against Wolves, I don't think they were brilliant at all at the weekend. So there's got to be some kind of reassurance that comes from that there is a way that we can attack this game. But I think it's a huge, huge week, a huge month for the club. We've got to start picking up some wins because we have just been so inconsistent, haven't we? Like so up and down. We've not really strung together a 3 or 4 win streak for as long as I can remember. It's been very topsy turvy. So yeah, I feel like we do turn up in the big games though, which kind of excites me about this week. I think some of these big games are when Villa Park and this team really come to life. So let's see.
Yeah, I mean, me and Justin were talking off air, and we'll bring that on air. And we were talking about, where we're at, what we're doing, what's going wrong. It made for a good episode, to be fair. So we'll try and mention some of that. But basically, what we were saying is that compare Villa from now to last season, it's obviously not as good. But I think we're trying to evolve and we're trying to get towards a place where Emery probably feels comfortable with his philosophy and his playing style. And the beauty of Villa's season right now is that we are still in the mix for Europe in the Premier League. We are still in the FA Cup and we are still in the Champions League. Now, this is very unusual for Villa because generally in years gone by, it's season over and there's nothing to look forward to. But we have still got something to play for on all three fronts. And I was sort of saying to Justin, is that the reason why we are a little bit inconsistent? So, Justin, you can take the floor on your thoughts, really.
I think it's unusual for us to be in this position, isn't it? You know, this Champions League campaign thrown into our usual, the melting pot of our season. It's been something we've had to sort of acclimatise to, and yeah, it was thrown at us at the start of the season. Like, you know, are you going to do a Newcastle? Are you going to fall apart? And we haven't fallen apart in the league. You know, our home form's pretty good. Our away form isn't the best. I think we're mid on the away forms. So it's sort of been, like you say, a learning curve throughout the whole of the season. And we haven't navigated it brilliantly. And there's lots of mitigating circumstances why that's the case. Obviously, we lost key players in the summer. We've had a terrible time defensively, but that's again mitigated by, I think we've had 10 central defensive partnerships now. So we've got all these different things we're throwing into the equation, trying to settle new players in from the summer, and then we've done far more business than we thought we would in January. So all these things are having to be sort of worked out on the go, if you like. You know, we haven't got a pre-season where we can just sort everything out and go into the season with a set plan. Henry's got his way of playing. He loves playing that way. The players know pretty quickly after they sign for Villa how we're going to do it and what he's expected of them. But all these things are having to be done on the hoof, if you like, because we are still got, like you say, going on three fronts, and they're all as important as each other for me. You know, we had a chat on the group chat earlier, and you know, I feel the FA Cup's becoming more and more important by the week and by the game, especially as the league games are passing by and we're not catching up the top 4 or 5. So you know, as a coaching setup and as a players, maybe there's too much to think about at the moment. They're thinking, you know, we've got even this week, you know, with the two massive games coming up on Wednesday and Saturday, smack bang in the middle of those two games, we've got the Champions League draw, so we'll know on Friday who we've got in the next round of the Champions League. So then you're planning for that, aren't you? And I know Emery never looks further than the next game, but they do have to plan ahead of what, you know, where we're going to play, who we're going to be playing, what's the date, you know, all these things have got to be sorted out, and it's not an easy task to do. And, you know, we've got a big squad of players. You know, hopefully all the defenders are coming back within the next 2-3 weeks. So we're going to have to balance the squad. We're going to have to balance the playing time, balance minutes. We'll come on to which is obviously the episode today. Is what team do you think we're going to pick? And there's that many games coming up, midweek weekend, that I think last season's success probably was helped by going out the FA Cup and the League Cup early. You know, we had to concentrate on. You know, by this point last season, we was pretty well set in the league, wasn't we? So we was basically where Forest are now, and all you've got to do then is just try and keep a little bit of momentum going, and then we put a little bit more into the Conference League, which we did pretty well in, obviously. So it's new for everybody, isn't it? And I feel a bit for Emery. I feel a bit for the players. Their form has definitely dropped a little bit from where it was last season, and they're all desperate to get back to some kind of consistency. But that word
But
in
Justin,
football is
sorry,
so hard, isn't it?
when we're comparing to last season. But if you're looking at the grand scheme of the season, we're actually not doing that bad, because
No, I
we're not
totally
doing
agree.
that. And while I'll say that is because, you know, we can all say that we would love to get top 4 this season. We'd love to get Champions League, which this season, if we got top 4, top 5 Champions League, it would be a better season than last year, because we've got it. We've gone deep in the Champions League. We've gone deep in the FA Cup, right? But perspective on this season currently is that we can still qualify for, say, the Europa League. We could go to Wembley in the FA Cup. We could get to the quarters or the semi-final of the Champions League. No one could tell me that would be a bad season. That would be a remarkable season for Villa
But
on all of that.
this is one of the big issues with football, isn't it? Your expectation levels heighten, and after what we did last year, everybody's expectation levels is so high Champions League football, the buzzword, everybody wants to be in it, don't they? We got it last season. And it's very hard to accept that you can't have it the season after because we've all loved it so much. But I think that the reasonable and the Villa fan that's sensible will say European qualification and, like I say, maybe a winning a cup and doing really well in the Champions League was all we could have hoped for this season anyway. We're not the finished article. We've got a lot of things to navigate around and to try and sort out. So, I'm always glass half full. You know that. I've been forever. I think we're going to win both games this week. So, you ain't got to worry about me. I'm happy, whatever. So, I'm buzzing for this season. I'm buzzing. We got Cardiff at home in the next round of the cup. I think we're going to get through that. Quarterfinals, good draw. You're at Wembley for the semi-final. We could easily make the quarterfinals of the Champions League, and we can still make Europe in the league. So, what's not to be happy about? The problem is our on-field performance, 90-minute performances, have been so up and down. That's what sort of clouded our judgment. That's all it is. But look at the players we're watching. I'm happy,
Yeah. To be fair, for as much as I can be frustrated on a match reaction, etc., I think that's we've always maintained that we react to the game that we've just seen when we do those. And the more you kind of reflect on things as well as the week progresses, you build up into Liverpool. You think you're going to beat Liverpool, so right, let's predict the team then that's gonna beat Liverpool. So Hannah, defense. Let's get this up on the screen.
I'm glad Hannah's doing the back four.
what's the back four gonna look like?
All right then. Just wanted to make a point. Like I do agree in terms of what you were saying around what makes a good season. I think it's still like within our grasp that we can make some kind of European football, and I think that would be a great achievement. I think I put something online about the fact that we were going to have 5 games in 14 days or something like that. I can't even remember the exact number. And you always get the same kind of like, they're professional footballers, they're paid X amount of money, poor them, blah, blah, blah. And to an extent, I do agree. Like, we don't need to feel that sorry for them. But I think just like whilst we're talking about team and players and who we're going to pick, I think like it's still important to remember that these players are playing constantly in a team that not only is tired, like mentally and physically, even when you've got a week off, but also the team's constantly changing. Like, how many times this season have we predicted a different team? Or I feel like for a long time we were very lucky or like privileged to have a pretty set 11, and now it's constantly changing. I think we're on our 10th or 11th centre back partnership of the season. So I don't think you can really like underestimate how much that has an impact as well. We just haven't had a settled team at all, and whilst you kind of need that through rotation, like the bit of disruption, it's a lot of the time like Emery's hand has been forced. The defensive injuries we've had have been ridiculous. So we'll get into it now, but I think
What's that stat? Is it the last 5 games we've made a sub before half time for an injury?
Yeah. And every time
last 5 games,
you've noticed it then shift the kind of, even if it's not the way we're playing, but like the feel around the game. Every time it's happened, like the 2 games before Ipswich, when it had happened at home, we had like a spell after the injury where everything felt really like panicked, and you can just kind of sense that in the squad there's a real concern about injuries. Like, that's the impression I get, is that players don't want to get injured, they're worried about it, and that they know that injuries are almost inevitable, and who's it going to happen to, and how is it going to affect the team. But anyway, we'll pick the team now.
No, I think it's all fair. It's all the other thing that I'll pick up on as well is that another slight problem that we've got at the minute is that we can't even rotate in certain positions, where you would go into this game or you go into Chelsea and you'd think, okay, could we put Onana in for McGinn? Could we put someone in for Tielemans? Like, Tielemans when's the last time he didn't play? Like, he's playing every game, and you'd want to rotate somewhere, but you can't because there's injuries in midfield. There's no depth with Barkley. Onana's out. Cash is out. Rodgers is playing every game. So, yeah, so it's frustrating. Martinez is playing every game, which we want him to play, but he's the only one that we want to play every game, really. So go into the back four then. So pick your four.
But even saying that, if we had a semi-decent number two, they'd play in the FA Cup, wouldn't they? But we don't have that. So, yeah, everyone's got injuries. I get it, but I think it's just important to have that perspective. Anyway, back for, I think, did I predict the lineup for last week? I've definitely done one of these recently. Oh, it was our ultimate 11. So I'm thinking back to
What
that.
you're saying you got that one right?
I'm saying I'm going to just repeat it.
That was your opinion.
Yeah. I would definitely have Dean at left back again.
Yeah, 100%.
I just Matson frustrates me a little bit. I don't ever like calling out players, but what's he doing for the lap goal? Not happy with it. I thought it was an interesting change actually against Ipswich for him to make that swap at half time, whether Emery was just like gunning for a bit more of an attacking option. But yeah, I just think Luka Dean's the better defender, and we're going to need it. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
Centre back partnership. It's a lottery, isn't it? It's going to have to be Wings and Disassi because that's literally all we've got. But saying that, I mean, again, we did concede a goal. Could they have done a bit better for the goal, perhaps? But in general, I think I've got good hopes for these two to be a decent pairing. They're both very tall, physical, good aerially. I actually thought Disassi had a good debut, to be fair. So at least we've got two centre backs. They're actually playing in the right position. I can't bear to talk about Kamara being injured because it kept me awake all night. And then at right back, I assume we're still going to be without Cash. But Garcia has stepped up, I think. I actually, again, thought he had another pretty good game against Ipswich. So at the minute, that's our back four. I don't think there can be any arguments, if I say so myself.
No, I don't think there can be either. So, like you say, two centre halves in there. Digne, Garcia. I'm fully fine with that. Double pivot, Justin.
McGinn and Tielemans. Again, there's no other option. I don't think Barkley or Onana are back, so.
It would be nice if there was a bit of a boost with someone in the midfield squad, but it looks unlikely. Right. I'm nailing my colours to the mast. Rashford starting. He's starting. And I'm telling you guys now, he's scoring. He is going to score against Liverpool. He's looking such a threat. And for all of the noise before he came, and I know it's only been two halves of football, he looks class. He's so good. Like, he's so direct. And it's nothing like what we've got. I know Rodgers is direct as well, but the way he hits that ball, how clean everything is, and how he skips past players, he's going to score some big goals for Villa this season. I can feel it in some big games. So for me, I'm saying he's starting on the left. So does anyone want to add anything to Rashford?
I concur.
I was going to say, I think we were moaning about not being able to rotate. I think where we actually can at the minute is probably some of those attacking wide positions, because this is the perfect game. Like, he's going to be itching for minutes. He's got that United Liverpool like fire in his belly. Like, it's the type of game he'll want to play in. So I agree. I think he had that obviously really good attempt for the free kick. I think it's been a long time since I've had a really good free kick taker at Villa. So even if we're playing for some set pieces, like, he'll be really crucial to have on the pitch. And then again, you give him sort of 65 minutes or so, and then he can always come off. But I think that's the perfect position that we can rotate in, and it'll be something exciting, like to have him to have his first start. It'll get the crowd going as well, I think, which we'll need.
Yeah, I will caveat this to say that Ramsey does play quite well against Liverpool. He played well in the game at Anfield, and then he got injured, didn't he? And he went off, and I think he scored there a couple of seasons ago. So he does play quite good, but I think off the bench, his ball carrying could be, a massive boost for us if we needed him for, say, 30, 25 minutes, etc. Justin, did you want to say anything about him?
I think Hannah makes a really good point, and it's the reason why I'm going to say what I'm going to say next on the other two positions behind who we all presume will be Ollie Watkins up top, is that we can't rotate anywhere else. We can't rotate the back four. We can't rotate the double pivot. We can rotate the three in behind Ollie Watkins, and I think we need to in this game. That's my opinion. I think, for me, it's time to rest Morgan Rogers.
Yeah.
I think I agree.
Because I think he looks tired, and we now have a bona fide, like for like, absolute baller that can play in the 10. And it's no disrespect to Morgan Rogers. It's no disrespect to Jacob Ramsey on the left. And it's no disrespect to what has been an underperforming Leon Bailey on the right, that we've got Marlon, Asensio and Rashford now. And I think it's very critically important that we now utilise the players we have brought in to help us. That's why they were brought in. So for me, all three of them start.
Yeah, I think I agree. I mentioned it on my match reaction that I just feel like Rodgers needs a game off or
He
not
needs
a start.
a rest.
Yeah,
The lad is a 21-year-old who's had a phenomenal season, but he needs a rest. And for his own good, if you asked him, he'd say, I want to play. Liverpool at home, I want to play. He needs a goddamn rest. And to have that kind of player to come off the bench, phenomenal.
Yeah, and you know what I think as well is that I think with this team, you can look at it and think, okay, defensively, are we okay? You're asking, I've got to get it on the screen actually. You're asking him, he can get forward, which is okay, but we've got more out and out width out here as well. He will attack this byline. He will get into this area. So this area, for me, you kind of structurally how we play, we don't really need that because we can have that. We can have Digne sort of just making sure he's in and around that halfway line. Rashford can be the one that can be freedom and explosive round here. If you need a bit of an overlap, that's fine. On the opposite side as well, Marlon is absolutely rapid. He can do the same. You can get a little bit of
running.
Yeah, you can get a little bit of link up. When sort of like Bailey and Diaby would sometimes like switch a little bit. You can get that with Asensio because he's got that sort of know-how to be able to find the space as well. And then if we need Garcia to go forward, you've got McGinn that can go in there and cover it and make up that back three as well. So I think this could be a bit of not a game changer, but just something a little bit more vibrant from us. Is the feel like?
Do you know what's even amazing? That we're sitting here looking. I'm just sitting here looking at that front four, thinking, "Is that Villa's front four?" It still blows my mind. The only other thing, sorry, Hannah. The only other thing I would have done, and only because if he was fit, if Kamara hadn't had that problem the weekend, I would have been tempted to put Kamara in the double pivot and then put McGinn on that right-hand side. Because against Liverpool, sometimes you just need that extra bit of security of having a player like McGinn that can sit in and do that donkey work. It is a little bit of a risk playing Marlon, Rashford, Asensio, Watkins against a Liverpool team that can be rampant. So that's the only caveat I would add on to playing all three of them. I'd love to see it. I think there's a chance it could happen, but he might go a little bit more sensible.
I think that was going to be what I was going to say. I was sort of like, I don't disagree actually with the team, and I think we do definitely need a spark. But I'm just putting myself in like Unai Emery's shoes. Is he going to make like 3 wholesale changes to the front 4 almost in a big game like this? I'm not sure. I don't see it just because it's not something that he does very often. That doesn't mean I don't want to see it, because I think it would be exciting. But I think me and Luke had this conversation before when we're talking about a dream 11. Do we lose like some of our sort of midfield integrity and some of like the structure to the team if we go to attacking, especially against Liverpool? But I would want to see Rashford in a sense here. I think the only position I'd potentially debate is sort of whether Marlon comes in. But genuinely, who else do we play? Because we haven't got Barkley, we haven't got
Marlon started against Ipswich, didn't he? I think.
we haven't got
Yeah.
we haven't got Kamara. So I think
So it's just changing the two, isn't it? Yeah.
Mhm. Well, I think the other aspect of it is as well is like where are Liverpool's strengths and weaknesses? The biggest strength is central midfield, so we're gonna have to
Yeah.
make sure we are dominant and solid in there. So whoever plays in the 10 is gonna have to drop into a midfield anyway and sort of drop into
So
that area.
do you two agree with me then? Let's hypothetically say Kamara's fit. So
Mhm.
what would your team be if Kamara's fit?
I think I agree with you in putting in just pushing McGinn sort of into that more forward position,
Yeah.
and then almost have him and Asensio. Like McGinn can play behind Ollie Watkins, but he can also go out wide, so they can almost
And
like
sit in and
integrate.
help out, yeah.
Yeah, that would be my team probably. But also, like, if I'm talking about this team as I'm looking at it now, my only other temptation would probably be to keep one of Ramsey or Morgan Rogers in. Probably would be Ramsey, because Rogers has played so many minutes, and therefore I know Ramsey prefers to be on the left, which means how do you play him and Rashford? Could you play Ramsey in more of a 10 and put Asensio out on the right? I don't know. There's a few options. I'm just slightly skeptical about that team being a little bit too attacking against Liverpool, like you say, Luke. That their midfield, and if they could play Jota, Salah, Diaz, Gakpo, like they've got a combination of 3 or 4 like terrifying players that we've got to deal with. And if we go in all out attack, it just concerns me a little bit. But
I think when I think of Liverpool and I think of their, it's basically 4-3-3, isn't it? Their formation. You know that Salah's going to stay high and wide on the right, and then you'll have, if it's Jota, Gakpo, Diaz on the left, they'll stay high and wide. There is space to isolate their fullbacks. I don't think Robertson's as good as what he used to be. I think he's doing a job. He's okay. Trent, you know what he's like, sort of defensively, he can be got at. So for me, when I'm looking at whoever plays in this Villa team out wide, we have to be causing big problems. And I think if we can do that out wide, then I think we'll be able to create numerous chances in this game. And again, we've got to take our chances. Really, we've got to make sure that we're solid at the back, which we haven't been. But sometimes, if we know we've got to do a bit of defending this season, I think we've been okay at doing it. Like tactically against, I don't know, Bayern Munich or some of the game, or Man City at home, and you've got to be defensively solid. We know that we can do that because we kept a clean sheet against Man City, didn't we? So we know we can do that. And the other thing as well is that another weapon we've got is Ollie Watkins against Van Dijk. Watkins plays Van Dijk quite well. He does run him a little bit ragged at times. I think they've probably had the better of each other in certain games, but there are games where Watkins does pose problems. So again, if we can stretch them and Konate as well, then we've just got to. We've got to be like Villa in Europe, really. How sometimes everything comes together. I think that's how we've got to treat it, really. Does anyone else want to add anything?
Hope for the best. That's what I hope for.
Cross your fingers. So it's like you before the game kicks off, just do this and have a look up to the sky. We'll be fine. Right, so we'll have score predictions because we didn't do them on yesterday's show. So Hannah, thoughts? What's happening?
Oh, I am just going to be positive because that's all I can be. I'm going to go with a 2-1 Villa. I'd absolutely
Love it.
love to win this game, but we will not keep a clean sheet.
No, I've got something that I just want to happen, and then the result will probably just fall into whatever happens. But I would just love us to really stick it on them and make them have to feel that pressure. You know, I felt like against Wolves that the shirt weighed a little bit heavy as that game went on. They knew that sort of like there's a title race there and they know that they've got to win every game and just put it on them and make them have to have a bit of pressure and just let us just be free and take it to them. So I'm going to go as well. 2-1 Villa. Justin?
I think you're right what you're saying. I've read, I think it was Van Dijk today coming out saying they won't let this title running weigh heavy on their shoulders. So that's the first time I've heard them talking openly about titles, you know, running and stuff. And you do see funny results, don't you, when the pressure's off, not on them now. They're expected to win the league now, aren't they? You know, comfortably ahead. So I think this could be lots of really good attackers on display. I'm going for a mad 4-3 Villa win.
Oh my God. 4-3.
Yeah.
I nearly went for a 3-2, but 4-3 feels even.
I thought 3-2, and I thought, sod it, we'll go 4-3. They're not going to keep a clean sheet. And with all the attackers on display.
Last year at home, we were 2-0 down and we came back 2-2.
Yeah.
Yeah, did we not?
88th minute, wasn't it?
Yeah,
Durant scored 2
Yeah.
off the bench.
Yeah, I'm thinking that we've had a
That was the infamous John McGinn interview after the game, didn't it? When he was asked about Durant. He just shook his head. Oh, God.
Right. So let's just stay positive and let's just believe in the team and let's just get the points. Let's get the points and let's just then move on to Chelsea. So cheers everyone for watching. If you've enjoyed it and got this far, comment your thoughts, smash the like, subscribe. Up the Villa.
Up the Villa.